We're doing a quick sound check for our team's participants. Quick sound check, sound check. Thanks.
Good evening to you all, and welcome to, our July 19, 2022 regular meeting of the Garner Town Council. Tonight's meeting will be considered a remote meeting, and as a result of that, the meeting will be conducted in conjunction with North Carolina statutes. I've lost where they are. Madam Attorney, do you have that?
It's, originally adopted as Session Law 2020-3.
Yes, okay. I wrote that down and then I couldn't find it for a minute there. And so as a result of that, Ms. Behringer is going to participate remotely. And so the rules of engagement will be that when she cannot be seen on screen, she will identify herself prior to asking questions and participating in deliberations or making motions or proposing amendments and voting. And of course, all votes will be conducted by roll call as a result of that. And so I see her on the screen now. She's with us, and I'm sure you can hear us. Is that right, Ms. Behringer? Okay, maybe she's muted at this time. I'm going to, at this time, then ask the town clerk if she will to call the roll.
Mayor Marshburn?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Vance?
Here.
Councilmember Behringer?
Here.
Councilmember Singleton?
Here.
Councilmember Dellinger?
Here.
And Councilmember Matthews.
Here. Okay, thank you so much. And Ms. Behringer, I believe you probably heard the sort of special instructions tonight, and so when you wish to speak, please identify yourself, and we'll be doing our votes by roll call this evening as well. Thank you.
Okay.
So at this time, if you will, and can stand and care to, would you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag in honor of our country?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. So it's my privilege this evening to welcome Reverend Ray Carr, who is a chaplain with our police department, who has graciously consented to come and to offer our invocation this evening. I appreciate all those who work with the police department in all capacities, but particularly our chaplaincy. And so, Mr. Carr, we're glad to have you here this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we come before you with thankful hearts. We thank you for being a God of love, grace, mercy, forgiveness, and justice. We thank you for the blessings you have poured out on this city and the peace that abounds. I thank you for those who serve this city, our mayor, our city manager, our city staff, our city council members, and our law enforcement officers. I give thanks for their commitment to make this city a safe place for all to live and for businesses to prosper. And so, Lord, we ask tonight that you will give wisdom, knowledge, and understanding as they meet to deliberate the affairs of this city, and that all decisions may honor you. And may peace continue to reign over this city. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming in this evening. It's good to see you. Okay. Okay, the next item of business is petitions and comments. This is the portion of the meeting to receive comments from the public or items not included in the agenda. Ideally, citizens should sign up in advance with the clerk to speak before the start of the meeting. The council is interested in hearing your concerns but may not take action or deliberate on subject matters brought up during the petition and comment segment. Topics requiring further investigation will be referred to the appropriate town officials or staff and may be scheduled for a future agenda. I don't have a list. Did you have anyone signed up? Ms. Gibson, okay. So is there anyone here who desired to make a petition or comment to the council? I'll recognize you at this time. Anybody? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, then we will move along. Council, you have the agenda in front of you for adoption. I believe it would be appropriate for me to mention at this point in time that because of a closed session that we're scheduled to have a little later, we may move that around a little bit in conjunction with the entity that we will be discussing a matter with, sort of depending on the timing that they are available. So other than that comment, the agenda will pretty much stand as is unless somebody wishes to pull something, and we'll get to the consent agenda in a little bit. So I will entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion properly made and seconded. All in favor, would you vote aye?
Aye.
And those opposed, no?
Technically, this needs to be a roll call.
Yep, I just recall that, yeah. So, Madam Clerk, if you will call the roll on that item.
Aye.
Yeah.
Councilmember Behringer?
Aye.
Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Dellinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Matthews?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, and that is a unanimous vote. Thank you, Council, for that. Okay, the next item of business is under presentations, and we have at least a couple of different matters. But first of all, I want to recognize, Mr. Manager, are you going first, or is our Public Works?
We go the same time.
Okay, well, come on up.
All right.
All right, yes, so we have a recognition of a gentleman that many of you know who is retiring, and so we want to hear from these folks in regards to that.
Thomas Rand, come on up here. Trying to hide there. Stand back there, and we will say a few good things about you. Thomas and I known each other for a while. We got here about the same time. I got here February 2001, and Thomas March of 2001. So we've known each other for over 20 years here. He has a great demeanor, very friendly, always asking about my family, how my son's doing in sports, and asking me how I'm doing. And one thing I noticed is he's always had a great relationship with any of the previous town managers here. I know he had a really special relationship with Mary Lou Todd, so so that speaks a lot to his character and his demeanor. He often works the gate at large events because he has a good way of interacting with people, especially strangers. And he probably has never met a stranger. Everybody just pretty much instantly becomes his friend. And I've even witnessed events that where he doesn't even have any responsibility. He's always asking, is there anything I can do to help, at the end? Can I help you break it down? Can I help you clean this up or move this or move that? Just a great guy. That's just who he is. That's his character. And we kind of gravitated around discussions about horses because he has a couple of horses, I believe, still. And I don't know a thing about horses, but my in-laws live down the street from a big horse farm. So we used to always talk about horses. So my one and only encounter and trail ride on the horse didn't go so well. So now that Thomas is retired, you can take me on a good trail ride one day. So we hold you to that. So anyway, I just want to congratulate him on his time here and the great job he's done for the town of Garner, and just being a great employee and just great demeanor and just kind of being a model of the type of employee we like to have here. So now I'm going to turn it over to Forrest Jones to give a few comments.
Thank you, Roger.
Yeah. Thanks.
So much. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. So much of what manager's already said, you know, Thomas is someone that's always greeting people, always kind to others, asking about how you and your family are doing, wanting to know if you can help. Some unique things about Thomas. You know, he's one that he does this pretty quietly, and you don't find this a whole lot necessarily in a group of mostly guys. When someone, if he knows you've recently had a child, Thomas is going to show up with a gift bag with some clothes and a stuffed animal in there and giving to you, and is constantly always asking about the children. How are they doing in school? What they're doing in sports, just what's going on, and always engaging and asking about you and not really centering the conversation about him. So that is something I would say is true of him, regardless of who and where he's at. As Rodney's alluded to already, Thomas is someone who's very dedicated. So for many of you that know me, I've been in public works for a long time and had the opportunity to serve in a number of roles. I too showed up a few months after Thomas. I came in August, and he joined our team in March. But in those times, a lot of times I was one of the first people called in for storm work, weather work, and things of that nature. And without fail, most of the time, Thomas was there when I got there. And if he wasn't, he was about 5 minutes behind me. And not because he had been called, because he knew he needed to come. And you didn't have to tell him what to do. If he got there before you, he started clearing sidewalks around public works, getting it safe so other people could come in if it was snow and ice, and would be right there and doing whatever you needed. When he run out of that, he'd move on to the next task and waiting for others to come in. So truly is that dedicated servant someone who served our town well and will be missed. I think most people in town have interacted or seen his work at some point in time. He has spent the majority of his time at Lake Benson in White Deer. He came and was a part of that crew. So again, had an opportunity to really impact a lot of different people where we have a lot of events and things. So you can see evidence of his work. He will be greatly missed. I'll tell one other quick story on Thomas. He might not remember this day. So many years ago, typically he worked on a crew of about 3 people. And as oftentimes will happen, you can get short-staffed, and he was a crew of 1 for probably 3 or 4 weeks. I passed him going down 70. He was headed to the West Welcome sign. I said, man, he's headed up there to mow that welcome sign right by himself. He's been working by himself the past week or more. Let me go up there and help him. Well, I turn around and get back. Well, his supervisor, Archie Mills, was already there waiting for him, and he was helping him. I watched Thomas work very diligently over the next hour and a half. As when I got there, I said, what do you need me to do? He said, well, go take the mower. He finished his job as quick as he could to move on to what Archie was doing so he could take that from Archie. He hurried through and got that done, and then came to me and run me off the mower and said, I got this, go on. So I think, again, just people trying to help him. Thomas was still like, y'all got other things to do, y'all go ahead and do that. But again, that kind of service to our town will be greatly missed. Again, he loves horses, his background, but we'll miss him. I don't know who's going to be the first person in Public Works anymore. We'll have to remember to start calling people Thomas. But we will miss him, and we thank him so much for his 21 years of service to the town in our grounds division, and just happy to be here tonight to recognize him. So congratulations, Thomas. You want to say anything?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Well, I enjoy working with the town out here. I met nice people. I see you out there in the park running, you speak to me, you know.
Give him a round of applause and welcome.
You make sure you come back and visit. We're going to keep the door open for you. All right. And we have a token of our appreciation. I think you may have gotten a real piece of this earlier, but that's ceremonial part there. So thanks, Thomas. Appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Nice having you around. So, all right.
Well, listen, before he leaves, I always like to give our council members an opportunity to make a comment or two and to recognize this distinguished gentleman who's retiring from us. So I will start to my right down here with Mr. Vance for any comments he cares to share.
Yes, Mr. Rand, I would say that after hearing the accolades that were bestowed upon you by the town manager and Forrest there, I can only say that appreciate your 20 years of service and your humility, your pleasing personality, and your commitment to being a part of a team and your selfless commitment to that. I hope that you continue to genuinely care for the town and your family and enjoy yourself, and I hope you come back and visit.
Sir, Mr. Dellinger.
Yeah, just what everyone said, and thank you for your service, and I hope you can enjoy retirement as much as you enjoy working.
Okay, thanks, yeah. Ms. Behringer, you care to make any comments?
Yes, I would just say congratulations to Thomas. It's wonderful to hear the remarks that we heard from Mr. Jones about an employee that's so valued. And we're going to miss you terribly. But again, like Mr. Dellinger said, I hope you can enjoy your retirement as much as you enjoyed working.
Thank you. Thomas, you got an outstanding work ethic. And as Forrest and Rodney mentioned, you're not flashy. You do the job, but you interact so well with other people, and that's a trait that is going away, I'm afraid. So God bless you for your work and your dedication to town. I hope you can enjoy your retirement. Anybody who likes to work like you do, I'm assuming you're going to have to find something to keep you busy, but enjoy your retirement.
Yeah, I did mention he had horses, so
Well.
I think he'll have plenty to do.
Mr. Matthews.
Yes, sir. Thomas, I've seen you out there at the park many times, and every time I get around all the public work guys, I'm always picking on them, carrying on with them, and I thoroughly enjoy that. And but one thing I noticed about you, you always command respect, and people respect you. And now I'm understanding more reasons why they do. And but enjoy your retirement. And you and I both know, you're like me, we're going to stay busy doing something, because if we don't use it, we'll lose it, right? Congratulations.
Okay, and Thomas, as a mayor, I would say that in many ways you're the epitome, I think, of a town employee, one who represents the town well and takes your job seriously and shows others, what your dedication is. We need and have people like that, and I appreciate it. I guess I should acknowledge perhaps I had a little bit of an ulterior reason for wanting to get to know you, particularly at Lake Benson Park. You're over there often, and I saw you there, and so I have spent some time jogging and exercising over there. On some of these hot summer mornings, I'm probably not quite as strong as I used to be in terms of distance and endurance, so I need to know somebody that if you found me falling out on a trail over there somewhere, you'd come by and pick me up and get me home probably. So you're that type guy. Thank you very much. And enjoy your retirement, sir. Okay, thank you. Let's give him one more round of applause. Okay, we have another special guest with us this evening under presentations, and so I believe, Gabby's going to introduce our next guest here, Ms. Shelby Powell.
Good evening, Town Council. So we have with us here this evening Ms. Shelby Powell from the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, or CAMPO, and she's going to provide you all an update on the Southeast Area Study Update, which some of you might have been around for when the original one was completed about 5 years ago. So I will hand it over to Shelby now.
Thanks, Gabby.
And let me welcome you as well. I remember I used to see you in person going to CAMPO meetings, but so many of them have been virtual in more recent times. I see you online, but thank you for being here this evening.
Yes, and thank you for participating so constantly in our meetings, even as we've continued to hold them virtually.
Sure.
Well, thank you for having me this evening and for including some time on your agenda for this. As Gabby mentioned, I work for the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, or CAMPO, and we do regional transportation planning for Wake County and parts of Johnston, Franklin, Harnett, and Granville counties. And so this Southeast Area Study Update is an update to a plan we did back in 2017 for southeastern Wake County and kind of northwestern Johnston County, from along the I-95 corridor up to Garner. So today I just want to give you a little bit of the project background, talk about some of the partnerships that we have that are helping this project progress, our ongoing public outreach that's happening right now, and then the next steps that are happening for the project. So in 2017, some of you may remember, Campo completed the original Southeast Area Study. It's an integrated land use and transportation planning study, looking at land uses in the area and the need for transportation projects that land use is driving. So the study also integrates multimodal aspects, transit, bicycle, pedestrian, and freight elements as well. And so since we did this the first time in 2017, this is not a clean slate kind of thing. We're looking back at our 2017 effort and updating that to see what has changed and what we need to recommend moving forward. Back in that 2017 study, we did establish some guiding principles. They're here on the screen. Travel safety, active transportation, freight movement, livability, network connectivity, economic vitality, sustainable growth, and traffic flow. These are the things we heard during our first study that we needed to focus on when we were developing recommendations. And the public outreach that we have going on right now is really focusing on these guiding principles, making sure they're still valid and relevant, and talking with the community about, are there other things we need to consider in addition to these things as we're looking at transportation recommendations. Our 2017 study area is here on the left, and we've expanded it a little bit for our 2022-23 study. Mainly you can see along the I-95 corridor, we've expanded quite a bit out beyond I-95. Our travel demand model boundary does go to I-95, so it helps us to understand the land use kind of along the other side of that corridor to help understand the trips that are happening there. And then at the request of the town of Garner, we also expanded the study to the west a little bit to cover some more of the 401 corridor, so we can help you guys hone in on some problem areas in that corridor as well as part of this study. We are doing this in conjunction with the Upper Coastal Plain Rural Planning Organization. The Campo boundary stops on the east around Clayton and Archer Lodge. So the other part of Johnston County that's in the study area is covered by the Upper Coastal Plain RPO, and we also have partners with NC.gov helping us on this study as well. For the local jurisdictions that are involved, we have parts of Raleigh, a very small part of southeastern Raleigh, parts of Wake County and Johnston County, and then the full towns for the rest of the towns listed there. The study is being guided by two committees. We have a stakeholder oversight team. That team will meet about 4 times along the course of the study. It's met 1 time already. The purpose of this is to help get the word out about the study, help drive constituencies into participation, and helping provide guidance and direction to us and to our consulting team, and to help us at public events that we're having along with the study as well. Then we have a core technical team. Gabby on your staff is on the core technical team. This is a group of more technical staff, professional staff that are helping us more constantly and frequently, participating in meetings, helping review data, making sure our analysis is going in the right direction, and also to help conduct engagement and act as a conduit to the stakeholder oversight team members in between their meetings. In addition to those 2 formal committees, we have the Campo TCC, or Technical Coordinating Committee, and Executive Board, who will be updated periodically about the study. The general public, our local jurisdiction members, staff members that may not be on the core technical team but that do have value to add to the study, key community stakeholders, elected officials through board presentations such as this one, and then our consulting team led by Kimley Horn. This is the study schedule. It did start back in March, and we're expecting it to go through next summer. So early next summer, we should have recommendations for transportation projects in the study area. Those recommendations will feed up into the region's 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. You can see here in that sub box there on the bottom the public engagement efforts that are going to go along with the different phases of the study. We currently have the consulting team working on what's called the State of the Region report, which is looking at recommendations from the last study, seeing if they were adopted or implemented or what happened with those recommendations. And if nothing happened with them, why not? So we can maybe reframe those, do a better job of figuring out some interim steps that could get us to those recommendations being implemented, things like that. Our public engagement plan is fairly robust for this study. We do hope to be deliberate with our outreach efforts and reach a variety of residents across the study area, different socioeconomic levels, different towns. There's different geographies there with different concerns. So this is a large-scale effort, and we're really trying hard to engage the public. We do have a project website, seareastudyupdate.com. This has a lot of the document information. It's got all the upcoming public engagement activities that are happening, and then just in general, as documents get delivered with this study, they will be posted to this website for your review. Also on that website, we have our outreach toolbox. We did a kind of train the trainer session so that we could train your communications staff, bless you, on how to promote the study through social media channels, through email posts. We've provided all sorts of materials for them to be able to use that digitally, talking points, flyers, that sort of thing, to make sure we have a consistent message coming out from all the study area participants. Before I move on to what's happening next, I wanted to just give you a rundown of some of the public engagement events that are upcoming. We'll be in Selma at an event called Rockin' on Rayford on Thursday evening this week. We'll also be at the Clayton Farmers Market and the Smithfield Flea Market next week, and we have two events happening right across the street here at the Garner Library on the 27th and 30th of July, where we'll just be out front talking to participants. There's a couple of programs going on at the library, so we're hoping to reach people as they come and go from that. And your staff is helpful in helping us to put those events on. So again, we are in this phase one of engagement, listening to people's concerns with those guiding principles, as well as transportation concerns that they have. You know, you hear a lot about specific intersections, specific areas of congestion that people deal with, areas of deficient bicycle connectivity, or where they wish they could take transit to, things like that. So we're hearing all sorts of information like that will help us as we move forward into technical analysis for the study. I already mentioned this. Our purpose right now for the engagement is to revisit these guiding principles and make sure we're still on the right track there. I also mentioned this. I got way ahead of myself here. The technical analysis that's going on right now, I mentioned our state of the region, which is the existing conditions. Our consulting team is also reviewing the adopted plans and updated plans that have happened since the last Southeast Area Study. Those include land use plans, things like pedestrian plans or bicycle plans that may have happened in the study area, and making sure that the data we have in our land use model is up to date and accurate as well. And so that's just a brief update. We wanted to make sure you all knew what was going on with this study. You'll start, seeing signs around town and social media posts and things like that, and we hope you'll share those and help us get the word out about the study, and of course consider taking our survey yourselves, and questions if you have any.
So thank you very much for that very interesting report, and I think there's a commonality when it comes to the work that's being done here for people in our area and all the other areas, and that is transportation and our road systems. Everybody's anxious to hear more about what we can do to cut down on traffic congestion and so forth. And so the work that you're doing and Campo is doing is very important. And as a member of that organization, I have a greater respect for all the people involved, and people in our town who know a lot more about it than I do. But it's interesting and very necessary work, so thank you very much. And I'll give the council now an opportunity to see if they have any questions. This time I'll start with Mr. Matthews, if there's anything.
It's a great presentation, no questions. Just eagerly we'll wait to see what's coming on transportation needs.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Singleton.
Thank you for the information. Just keep us updated. If we have any opportunities to participate, I know you got the survey, just let us know.
Okay. Ms. Behringer, anything from you?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Dellinger?
Thanks for the information, and just to pick your brain a little bit, what are some of the standout or unexpected changes that have happened since the last plan that you see kind of rising to the top as needing to be addressed sort of more urgently than may have originally been anticipated?
Well, I don't know. I've been in transportation planning here in the region for about 15 years, so I can't say that there's a lot surprising happening. I think the pace that development, the rapidity with which it's picked up here in the last couple of years has been surprising. I think, you know, the pandemic obviously surprised everyone and changed some of our travel patterns. We've done some work recently with Go Triangle on a bus plan update that they're doing, and so looking at some of the survey results on people's travel behavior and travel patterns, and obviously a lot more people are working from home now, and there's no longer that necessarily defined peak morning and peak afternoon travel time, and figuring out how to address that both through transit and through highways. You know, it might be a better use of funds to do some smaller intersection improvements that make roads operate more efficient than to focus on these larger widenings that have been historically the focus. So this is an ever-changing area, which kind of, you know, makes this job fun. With some of the recent economic development announcements that have happened, there's always something to you know, in terms of freight movement or commuter movement, things like that.
Vance?
Great information. Thank you for the update, and look forward to the future updates.
Just one other comment. I've come to know Sig Hutchison some, primarily through Campo. I knew him a little bit before, but I think it's fair to either ask you or comment that when people think of transportation, of course, I guess they think of different things. But if you've been around Sig much, you're going to hear some about bike paths and greenways, right? Heard that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big focus of the MPO as well.
Exactly, yeah. So again, thank you so much for your time and coming here this evening, and keep up the good work, and you got a lot of work to do.
All right, thank you.
Sure, thank you. Okay, council, we are now to the item of our agenda, the consent agenda. There are 5 items on there. I would entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Okay, motion made, properly seconded. We will have a roll call for approval of the consent agenda. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Matthews?
I'm sorry.
Do you vote aye? Or?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was over here looking at something. Aye, sorry.
Bellinger? Councilmember Singleton?
Keeping us on our toes here. She's dancing around.
Yeah,
Aye.
I was not prepared for
the
that.
last meeting, so I'm paying attention tonight.
Councilmember Behringer?
Aye.
And Mayor Pro Tem Vance?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So the consent agenda is approved by unanimous vote, and thank you, council members, for that. We are now at the area of public hearings on the agenda. There are none scheduled, and I don't believe there's any recent information that changes that. So am I correct on that, Ms. Gibson? All right, so we'll move beyond public hearings this evening. I'm sure there will be some coming up at our next meeting probably. So under new and old business, we do have one item there, and I'm supposing Mr. Triesenberg is going to lead us through that. Plat Review Services. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Tonight we have a draft contract for you for consideration to authorize the town manager to enter into. This is the first time that I'm kind of having to come before you to really ask for something other than a special project request. This really gets to continuity of our operations in the planning department. And so the contract would be with Withers and Ravenel. Miss Brendy Vega is here tonight, and she's able to answer any questions for you as well. With the current situation in planning, we've dealt with kind of the majority of vacancies being involved in the what I call the plan reviews section, which is kind of the the early stages of plan development. We now have 3 out of those 4 positions filled. But with the recent promotion of Mr. Godfrey to our new GIS specialist position, it's now kind of the general planning services side, where right now it's basically Mr. Bowie and myself helping to cover. And so in order to free up a little bit more of our time to be able to flex and cover some of the duties that the department has, in talking with management, the one thing that we do that is fairly consistent across the state, no matter what jurisdiction you're in, is plat review. And plat review is the final step before somebody gets their building permit. So all of the hard, unique work that's unique to Garner is already done. So as long as someone has access to the approved construction documents and approved plans, all the other stuff is pretty well laid out by state law. But it is a very tedious, time-consuming process, because you do have to double-check everything, that it does match up, and that sometimes, lot lines can get shifted during the process of going from the time that you all see it for preliminary review to when it goes to construction drawings with engineering in the city of Raleigh, and then coming back to final plat. So it is something where we do need to look at each individual lot, for example, in a subdivision, and making sure that it still has the proper lot width, the proper lot size, and that nothing significant has changed. So Ms. Vega she has worked in local government herself for quite some time. She used to be with Apex and then for a short while in Wake Forest. And she has assembled a team of folks that have similar backgrounds and experience, so they're very familiar with the process. We did get, just a couple of, it's basically an hourly rate type thing. So we did check with a couple of other firms just to make sure that their hourly rates were not out of whack. But we estimate probably about 15 hours a week max. And so this contract would be for a initial 3-month period, with the opportunity to extend it for 2 more 3-month periods if needed, just kind of depending on the staffing situation. But we do know that at least for the upcoming 3 months, we're going to be short for sure.
Okay, so the request is for approval of a contract that you've alluded to here. So I'll see if council has questions. Start with Mr. Singleton this time.
Yes, sir. You do have the 2 additional extensions, and if you get that far into it, I'm sure the opportunity will be, if it presents itself where you may continue to need their help, there'll be opportunities to extend it further or to write up a new contract. Right. Okay.
Yeah, if it were to get to that point, we'd want to come back to you with something more, I don't want to say permanent, but yeah.
Ms. Behringer, anything?
No, I have no questions.
Okay. Mr. Matthews?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Dellinger?
No questions.
And Mr. Vance?
No questions.
Okay. So I believe the matter before us would require a vote to authorize our town manager to execute this contract.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Properly made and seconded. We will now take a roll call vote on the motion for approval of the contract.
Mayor Pro Tem Vance.
Aye.
Councilmember Behringer.
Aye.
Councilmember Singleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Dellinger.
Aye.
And Councilmember Matthews.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I declare that the motion was approved unanimously. So, Mr. Town Manager, you have your approval of council to move ahead on that. And let me just say to Jeff, I appreciate so much what your department's doing, and I think we all understand some of the challenges there. And so this is intended to give some much-needed assistance there, and I'm sure you'll use it well and wisely. So give us an update whenever you care to, but move ahead, sir. Thank you. All right, only item there under new and old business, so we are now to the part of the agenda. Are we ready for anything? Okay. Okay, it's now a good time then for us to move into closed session.
Yes, sir.
Okay, for those of you listening in the general public, we'd reserve the opportunity to perhaps change things around in the agenda, and so because of the necessity of doing a closed session with an entity that had a limited amount of time that we could use, I'm going to recommend to our council that we, at this point, decide to to go into closed session and come back, and we will finish the agenda, picking up with item J on the agenda. So, Ms. Jones, I failed to note the citation.
It will be a closed session regarding the acquisition of real property. So that's state law, section 143-318.11A5.
Okay, okay. So motion properly made by Mr. Singleton and seconded by Mr. Matthews, that the council at this time would go into closed session. So, Madam Clerk, I guess we need another roll call, if you will.
Councilmember Dellinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Matthews?
Aye.
Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Vance?
Aye.
And Councilmember Behringer?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Again, a unanimous vote by the council, so I'm going to declare that will go into a closed session, and then we'll come back and pick up on the rest of the agenda. So Back in open session, having gone into closed session to discuss a matter that I will ask our town attorney to briefly summarize.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council met in closed session to discuss the acquisition of real property and provided some instruction and guidance to staff as to the negotiating position. Any amendments that are necessary will be brought back in a subsequent open session.
Okay, thank you very much. Now that we're back in closed session, we'll get back to our regular agenda. Perhaps we ought to take a brief recess to get everybody back in place, do you think? It's 8:35. Yes, anybody have a thought on that?
Let's keep going.
I thought we've got to get some people back in here to present, do we not? Or Jeff? No, we don't?
And
Okay.
we have some presenters on Teams there, but I think we should be fine.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good. Okay, well, we'll go then to the next item, which is, let me see, where was I? Committee reports, I believe. And are there any committee reports at this time from any committee?
I've got one thing, Mr. Mayor. Would this be a proper time to talk about this?
We could either do it now or under council reports, but why don't you go ahead?
Okay. I gave everybody one of these, and I'll be brief. It's the Garner Veterans Advisory Committee. As you can see, we're getting busy, and a lot of good things coming. And but we have visited up at Wake Forest. They do a flag raising ceremony starting typically in April through October, where they recognize a veteran that has been deceased that lives in Garner, and meets certain criteria to be presented a flag. They do an honor guard out there. Generally, it's the police or fire department. They pull the flag down and it's given to the mayor, which presents it to the recipient. It's quite an honor. I think they've been doing it many years. Well attended, and we've been up there twice, and think we've got a handle on it. What we'd like to do is plan on launching this thing possibly maybe by April of next year in a limited capacity, maybe every other month, till we get our hands wrapped around it, work out the details, and do it out at our Veterans Memorial out at the park, which would be very appropriate. And we've got a list of names out there at that park on that wall, those that we can recognize in this process. And we think this would be a wonderful opportunity to kick it up a notch, as we are a Purple Heart city, and that sign looks good out there, and we've got more coming. So, and we do have a veteran on that wall. The committee is Mr. Teal. It's an interesting story. He was killed in Vietnam protecting his platoon and attacking a Viet Cong group on a hill. He grabbed a machine gun and told his team, said, "I'm going to cover you. When I start firing, y'all take off." And basically, and he fought his way up that hill till he ran out of ammo. Then he threw his M60 down, and in that process, he was shot. So quite an honor. So once we found out about that, we're already moving forward to put him in posthumously for the Congressional Medal of Honor, and we're already working that. If all goes well, he would probably be our first recipient, and to have a Congressional Medal of Honor winner from Garner, that's awesome. It kind of gives you chill bumps, but these are some of the things that we're working on. I wanted to update you guys, the staff and everybody on this. We'll have more details, but since it's worked well for years, like I said, up in Wake Forest, and they've been very helpful with us to go through some of the details, and we can work these things out. But I wanted you to update y'all on that. So there would obviously be some participation from the town in on this, but a great opportunity to recognize our veterans and take it to another level. So that's more information. That's why I got the brochures. And on the back side, how the American flag is folded, what it stands for, is quite interesting. But your Veterans Committee is, like I said, got a lot of projects coming up. So we appreciate the board and staff working with us on all of this. And we'll keep the council as well as staff posted on what we got going on. So if there's any questions or anything, everybody's 100% in the loop.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mr. Matthews and the Veterans Committee. And And also, yeah, the installation of the Purple Heart City designation that is out there now. So,
Yes, sir.
very good. All right, I think that's the only committee report I saw that we have before us. So we will next go to manager reports. Mr. Dickerson.
All right, Mayor and Town Council, we have our Finance Director, David Beck, on Teams with us. If you have any questions about the quarterly report, that's enclosed in the back of the agenda packet. Is there anything in particular you wanted to point out, David? Or just respond to questions?
Mr. Beck, are you there, sir?
I am, yeah. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. Just would, point out it's in the memo, but these numbers go through June, but they are still preliminary. We'll have quite a few year-end adjustments to make that'll change those numbers a good bit. But overall, it looks like a pretty solid year for us financially.
Okay, and while council members maybe are thinking of other questions, I do note, and don't always, certainly don't take for granted, essentially the last sentence of your report where you assess that the town continues to be in good financial position and you anticipate the final numbers for FY 21-22 will reflect this positive condition. Good information in there. I think, we talk a lot about COVID and coming out of COVID. COVID's still around, unfortunately, but I think given some of the challenges that we've had, from my perspective, these numbers are pretty impressive, really. And so thank you for sharing that information. But I'll see if council has questions for you. Anything down this way? Okay, over here. Ms. Behringer, anything from you?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Mr. Manager?
Yes, next we'll go over the Talk of the Town report. And
yes,
if you remember, that's taking the place of the previous Garner Info report that we gave you. This will give you some updates on some concerns that you've had in the past. And Ms. Miller will go over some of those.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. As part of your packet for tonight's meeting is the July edition of the Talk of the Town monthly report that we started last month. And as Manager Dickerson mentioned, it includes updates on specific issues or requests that the council has brought to our attention. It also provides some analytics on the Garner app info as well. So just to briefly kind of give you a few highlights of this month's edition. One thing I wanted to point out is the Development Services team has selected SmartGov by Brightly to develop the platform for the town's online development services portal. Staff is currently working with Brightly on the department process and analysis and customization work. And within the next 6 to 10 weeks, the first round of testing for this dashboard, for the back end of the dashboard, will happen with a anticipated launch date of the public-facing portal to happen within the next 12 months. And I know that's something that the council has been particularly interested in. Also wanted to point out and share with the council that the Garner Groves lease to create the community garden at the Thompson Road Park has been executed and is effective as of July 1. And that's something we've been working on through the spring, and we're excited to see that move forward. Looking further down on the second page, looking at the Garner Info monthly analytics, you'll see the information that we're going to provide monthly to the council. It provides a high-level overview, the types of questions or requests that we receive. As you can see, by type of request, tall grass and weeds, streetlight problems, and garbage not being picked up tend to sort of round out the top. We had 36 requests over the last 30 days or so using the Garner Info app, of which about 81% of those issues have been addressed. They're either in progress or been completed. And as you can see, Public Works is the department most likely to respond to a lot of these requests, and that makes sense based on the type of questions and requests that we're receiving. So I want to just provide you a brief update of the information that's provided. Of course, there's more information provided on this report. We're happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Miller. Questions for her and this segment of the report? Yeah, Mr. Dellinger.
Yeah, on the Bethel Road speed reduction, I'd like us to be a little bit more proactive and aggressive in pursuing that, and not be contingent on the Walter Buffalo, any other project. Just with the development we've already approved down there, from 50 down New Bethel and Hebron Church as well, there's enough traffic to warrant reducing the speed limit. Buffalo Road's 35, Garner Road's 35, Aversboro's 4 lanes and 35. It's just going to get more and more dangerous as those developments roll out. So I'd like us to, even with what we know we have, look more aggressive, or try to reach out to them again to see if they can start the wheels turning on working on those speed changes on those roads.
Certainly, we'll circle back with engineering and talk about, ways we can be a little bit more proactive, particularly with that topic, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I want to thank you for the update on the Jones Sausage meeting. I was on the way to that meeting. I believe it was from 6 to 7:30, and I was coming in with some stormy weather. And as I got from Durand to turn to Garner Road, it was around 6:50-ish. There was a huge bolt of lightning and thunder that was behind. It was in Raleigh, but it was behind coming this way, and I took on the radar. So I proceeded to go to the office to wake my father up so he would go home because he was asleep in the chair at the office, because I thought that was the priority. But that storm, it was storming, but I do appreciate, I know you said we had 42 people in attendance. The parking lot was a lot of cars. I knew it was going to be an important meeting, so I appreciate the update, and y'all providing what you've provided for that, because I know it's going to impact a lot of folks in different ways. So thank you.
Anything? Yeah, okay. All right. Anything else from staff, from the manager?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wanted to let you know and the public know about a Wake County open space meeting that's going to happen on Thursday, July the 21st from 4 to 7 at the Whitedale Park Nature Center. Wake County is proposing to add 3 new nature preserves, and one of those would be in the Swift Creek corridors, the Swift Creek Nature Preserve. So they're just seeking public input on that and sharing information.
And it's Thursday, Roger, from 4 to 7. It's at White Deer Park. I'd seen it. I saw
Yes.
a tweet on that. Thank you.
Yes.
White Deer Park, I heard.
Yeah, the Nature Center building. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And then a reminder about Congresswoman Ross' visit on Friday at 10 o'clock to kind of do a presentation on the earmark funds we got to make improvements to parking area off of Main Street at Rand Mill Road.
On Main Street, right at
that intersection.
Okay.
I believe it was be set up. Is that where you're going to set it?
It'll, 2 things there. That was originally sent out as 9:30. The Congresswoman's office changed it to 10 this week, so it's a reminder, but also an updated time for 10. We plan to stage the presentation on the grass lot on Rand Mill that the town owns, that is going to be a part of the parking lot. So you can turn down Rand Mill and turn and park on the gravel lot, or you can park on Main Street and just walk, the quarter of a block or half a block there down Rand Mill Road, and you'll see that set up on the right there. We will have a couple of tents to provide some shade. There's some natural shade there. It's early in the morning, so we'll hope we're getting it ahead of too much of the sun. We are planning to have hopefully an introduction by DGA of the mayor. The mayor makes some remarks, turn things over to Congresswoman Ross. She will make some remarks, and then we'll have a photo op using the plan for the parking lot and the improvements as the backdrop. We'll have some refreshments, some treats there for folks, and then everything should be concluded in less than an hour.
So, council members, I encourage you to be there if you possibly can, if your schedule allows for that, and I certainly will plan to be there as well. So, okay, anything
Thank you,
else?
John. You wanted to make a introduction real quick?
I'm not sure if he can hear me, and if he can, I'm not sure if he's free to come in, but we have a new member of the IT and Communications Department. Council authorized a position last year to add to our staff. I don't know if Anthony can hear me. If he can, I'd like for him to come in. If not, we'll make a visual introduction of him later. But wanted to introduce Anthony. Oh, he's not. I'm sorry. Anthony was here earlier. We'll have a visual introduction of him later, but Anthony joined our team, and he is largely responsible for all the the setup and the logistics of these meetings and other meetings. He's already working to help Ms. Behringer get on tonight. We've got a new process that we're using to sign folks up that are guests to come in. So just wanted you to know that if you see someone out in the hall at these meetings, we'll get him in here for introductions. But Anthony did join our IT comms team to help us with a lot of these logistical things like this. We'll get you a more formal introduction of him another time.
Thank you so much. I did have a chance to sort of meet him casually, I think, a little while ago. So, yeah, we look forward to that. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir, very much. Ms. Jones, anything?
Just briefly, I had sent you some information on the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Advisory Committee ordinance change, and I hadn't received any feedback. So I was just wondering if you had feedback or whether that's ready with the proposal I had made in the memo to come back to you for adoption at a subsequent meeting.
Refresh our memory.
So in the existing ordinance, there's the option of a town council member to be appointed as a member of that committee. That's a little different than the liaison role that you typically have with your advisory committees and other boards and commissions. So you can either retain that ability or you could change it to where it's just a liaison role. The major difference being is if you appoint someone to a board or a committee, council has to make that appointment through the nominating process in the Human Relations Committee. Liaisons are typically appointed or selected by the mayor for each of the boards and commissions.
Why would we change? I don't understand. Why are we even considering doing that? Why would you have someone who has to vote as a council member who's supposed to be a liaison? Why would you even have them in the committee? It doesn't make any. Sorry. This has worked this way for years. I don't understand why we would do that. Explain to me why we would do it. I don't understand.
Well,
you could do it, particularly for some boards where you want to have a voting privilege to set the direction of that committee. But typically for advisory committees, that's not necessary because you're getting a recommendation and then voting on that at some other point. It may be important for, nonprofits and other things where you're appointing to where they get significant funding from the town, that there be a voting member of that. As you recall, though, with separate, this is an internal committee, which does not impact your ability to be an elected official and appointed to a separate board. That would have more of an impact with, say, GEDC, DGA, or if you had actually a voting membership opportunity on the Garner Fire Rescue Board. So it's been in the ordinance as an option. I don't know that it's ever recently someone's been appointed to be a full member with voting privileges.
It's a volunteer citizens board, and that's the way it should remain. Shouldn't be elected officials. They're for volunteer citizens board with their input, a different level of input than elected officials.
I was confused. I guess I misunderstood because when we were doing the revision to the bylaws in the committee, and I thought the confusion was over the mayor. I thought that the way it was worded, it said the town, but it didn't specify the town would make that appointment. And I think the language that was proposed was that council would make that appointment, but could still defer that authority to the mayor to make that appointment. And because again, the word just town it wasn't clear. So I guess there must be something different that I didn't.
So I think the confusion was the bylaws are largely the ordinance. And so the committee had recommended changes to the bylaws, but they can't change the bylaws in contravention of the ordinance. So now it's become an ordinance change. It has been in the ordinance to have the option of town council appointing one of its own members as a regular or ex officio. Typically, you would be appointed ex officio. So that I think there was some confusion as what that really entailed, but I think then traditionally it became more of a liaison and it's not necessarily listed as a member. And the difference between a member is you're entitled to be at all the meetings, you're entitled to vote, to set the direction.
I don't think the committee cares either way. I think when our conversations were on the appointment process, ex officio board member, it doesn't matter. I think it was just wanting not to take the mayor's authority away as granted by council to give him that power to assign someone. So I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, I didn't have strong feelings one way or the other when I became mayor, as I understood it, the previous mayor. In my mind, at least, and Mr. Vance can comment on this, the PDC maybe is a good example of a person who is an elected official who serves on that, who has full voting opportunities on that committee. Cited, I'm trying to remember if that's the one you cited. Whatever recommendation you made sounded reasonable to me. One of them had to do with the term itself, that as an elected official, you could serve as long as you were in that elected position, but if you were a person who was appointed for a specific term, then your term ends after whatever the committee agrees it would be, a 2-year term or whatever. Is that one of the distinctions?
Right. The biggest distinction between a regular and an ex officio is if ex officio, you only serve while you are an elected official. It's concurrent with your term. So if you would resign or if you would not be reelected, that would end. If you were a regular member, you would say get the full 3-year term that any other citizen would get to it. Now, some places will say an ex officio is a non-voting member, but the default rule under Robert's rules and other case law is that an ex officio member does have all of the privileges of membership. So that is different than being a liaison, where it's a communication kind of courtesy type role between those, where the membership is a separate entity. Okay. And the one caution is that for particular boards and commissions and entities that you might appoint members to, there is a prohibition that you can only have one elected official and one appointment. And after that, then you would be violating state law. So a liaison role takes that counting of positions out of the, equation.
Sounds like the liaison would really the best way to go. I agree with Ray.
GEDC stands for Garner Economic Development
Corporation.
That's the difference. You got a corporation versus a volunteer citizen group. There's two totally different worlds. So,
I think,
go ahead.
if I may add, there was some language also about for the appointees that the mayor makes, that they would last throughout the term of the appointee on the council, whereas practice, I think you've had the discretion to move folks around if you wanted to, just to give experience in different areas, but just a matter of how.
Well, I was thinking some of those appointments are held to the standard of the term itself. They're like a 2-year term or whatever, and then they're subject to be reappointed, I guess, if everything has gone well with their service. So is this a matter that I guess the council needs? Well, I guess we need to vote on. Could we bring it back under consent?
I mean, I didn't intend to have a full discussion, but to know where you were with this and whether you wanted more of a discussion of this, say, at the work session, so you can talk about the different options, or whether you just want to see amendments come forward. And if I understand it, that you don't feel that you need to have a full member, a council member serve as a full member of the advisory committee, we could remove that very easily. And then there were other, say, non-controversial type amendments presented as well, and then they could move forward, because I know the committee has been working on these amendments for at least a year, if not longer.
They took a look, I think, at the bylaws and some of the previous language, maybe that was a little confusing or needed tweaking, shall I say. That
I think
part of their
there's general indifference on that, the committee as to how it happens. I think the discrepancy you mentioned is something that never got reconciled, but I don't think advisory board has a preference either way. Main question was on the actual appointment authority itself, clarification, but the other stuff, I don't think anyone really had a preference
And
for.
defining the roles and responsibility for the committee members was a big part of that. And I think
Yeah.
got that all cleared up.
Yep.
Yeah.
If the council desires to discuss it some further, we could bring it to our work session, which will be coming up fairly shortly, or
I think, Mr. Mayor, I think that's a good idea.
okay, you'd like to discuss it some further at the work session and reach a
Yes.
conclusion at that time, probably.
Right.
Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in on that?
We already decided, but anyway. We decided to leave it like it is.
Well, it would probably be incumbent on all of us, or at least it would me. I read what you sent, and at the time, it made a lot of sense in terms of what I recall your recommendation was, but I don't have it in front of me this evening. And so perhaps we could bring that to the work session with the information that you had submitted, and have council have that available, and hopefully we can agree and wrap it up at a meeting like that. Let's do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I can resend the email. It would have to be, the ordinance amendments themselves would have to be adopted during a regular meeting.
Okay, not at a work session, yeah, okay. All right. Well, it gives us a chance to, I guess, to discuss anything further that may come up after council reviews the information you've submitted. And so I would foresee after a work session discussion, we could certainly put it on the next regular meeting agenda and go ahead and resolve it at that time. You're shaking your heads anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Was there anything else?
No, not at this time.
Okay. All right. We are now down to council reports. And so I will recognize Council Member Behringer first.
I don't have anything, sir.
Okay. I'll go to Mr. Vance. Am I right?
Yes, the telegram pole I mentioned on Old Garner Road, just got a little concerns about it. And I know that it's in the works for the utility to be relocated, but it looks kind of weak to me.
Yeah, so that one got broken, and they added another pole behind the curb, and they kind of tethered the two together with the wires up top. And one reason they can't just remove the old one is because some of that wiring goes under the sidewalk. So that wiring would have to be relocated. So we've been in contact with the utility about that. I don't have a timetable, but it's not just a matter of just, taking the top wires off, but because there's a wire that goes under the sidewalk concrete, that's going to take some time because they may have to cut the sidewalk out to replace it.
The wiring was not really an issue for me. It was just the safety of the pole itself. So the pole has been secured to a point where it's considered to be safe.
I can't answer that because I haven't been out there, but none of the staff has brought up any concerns about it, but we'll take a look at it. We'll take a look at it. It seems like it's in a position where it really can't move much unless something else runs into it, but we'll take a look at it.
And next, I would like to say that the workshop, as Councilman Grace Singleton said, for the Jones Sausage Road Improvement Project was well attended. The staff, I think, did a good job in having the resources available. The visuals and the preliminary plans were available for the citizens, where they weren't necessarily standing around in one location. They were able to go to various locations to look and talk to the staff and ask the questions that were pertinent. And it just the attendance showed that the outreach piece was well done. and that the citizens are definitely engaged in that whole entire process when it comes to Jones Sausage Road. I've got a question that I should know the answer to, and that is the project website live? The website for the Jones Sausage Road project, is it?
Yes, sir.
It is live?
It is live.
All right. All right, very good. The next thing is, I just let everyone know that we've all been concerned about the improvements on the New Bethel Church Road bridge, and when that detour will be open. The detour is open, and they're moving aggressively but they have demolished that scary bridge I will go over quite often. And it appears that the construction piece is moving along rather aggressively, so that's good to see there. And also good to see on the 5070 bridge that the NC.DOT has started to clearing and grubbing on that piece, so it looks like that one is well on its way as well. So projects that were stalemated for a while appear to be moving along. I hope they continue to move on. And that's all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Dellinger.
I had several emails from citizens about the stub policy, and they were wondering what the status of it was and when it was coming.
It's coming back to the work session.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, Mr. Singleton?
Yes, I'd like to thank Ms. Gibson for keeping us on our toes tonight. She's moved us around. I've been in the middle every time tonight. I keep waiting for her to call me out first after I got burned last time. So pay attention now when she calls her name.
Good, yeah.
After getting burned last week. We got an update this is regards to the White Oak Road and Bryan Road intersection. We've had one update meeting, and I thought they talked about coming again. Are they coming at the work session next week, or have we not got a further update on that process yet from the gentleman with Pulte Homes?
They're not scheduled to be here for the work session.
Okay.
I believe that they have delivered some preliminary work to review to Ms. Jones, but that's just been received. So I think staff needs some time now to analyze the preliminary work that they submitted back. Ms. Jones may have more.
Right, so just today, they submitted a proposed reimbursement agreement, which is a little different than a development agreement, so we'll have to work that out and look at the different terms that are associated with it. They had originally proposed as a condition that it would be a development agreement, which under Chapter 160D, that requires a separate public hearing and really goes into the timing of when they can have building permits and then what infrastructure improvements will be made. And because this is likely to include a lot of other projects, it's not your typical reimbursement where we would say be asking them to upsize a water line or something like that associated with their development. So I'll be working with the developers to do that. But what I envision is if it is a development agreement process, then perhaps at one of the meetings, or I'll provide you with some training on what exactly can be included in those and what is your role in that separate public hearing, what those parameters are before it would actually be placed on your agenda for a decision.
Appreciate that update, that information. That's at least it's moving along. I know they're running a project separate of that, and it's separate, but it's not. But anyway, thank you very much. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Matthews?
Nothing this time.
Okay.
Yeah, but may I add one more thing in reference to, I've noticed in proximity to the intersection of New Rand Road and Old Garner Road, if you come out of Old Garner Road and make a right going toward come out of New Rand Road and make a right going toward the concrete plant, there is a tree that's coming across the road that appears to be dead limbs on it. They're pretty well, I won't say camouflage, but they're obvious. Well, for me, it's obvious. And just have concern as to safety there, if that branch could possibly fall into the road. That's all I have. So
We'll take a look at it.
All right, thank you, Council.
Thumbs up to Public Works. They've been out working hard on storm damage. Seen them, I've probably seen them too, so they've been there's a lot more out there, I think, than people thought. Public Works is probably aware of it, but they're working hard, so thank them for their work.
That's a natural leading for me. I was going to ask if that process still in still in place? I mean,
Yes, Mayor, they're still collecting debris. If they keep up the pace that they have now, they should be done by middle of next week or so with all the routes. It's taken a little longer. To Mr. Singleton's point, there's a lot more debris out there than I think most people realized, and so they've been working diligently since after the 4th holiday, picking up the debris. So once that's completed, we'll have some data and information to share with the council about how much was collected and just some kind of interesting facts about the process we'll share.
okay, thank you. Pleased to hear that, and I knew they were. Great. Okay, that's all I had. Do you have something else?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, according to my report, we've already covered, let's see, do we have another closed session, or do we already dealt with that, right? There wasn't a separate one from that. Yeah, okay. All right. That brings us to adjournment, and I would be happy to entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Do we need to do a roll call on that, or can we acclaim it?
Technically, yes, but.
Well, all right. Ms. Clerk, would you do that?
Councilmember Singleton.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Vance.
Aye.
Councilmember Behringer.
Aye.
Councilmember Dellinger.
Aye.
Councilmember Matthews.
Aye.
Okay, and even though the mayor can't vote, I concur with the vote and declare that it was unanimous. So this meeting of the Garner Town Council I pronounce as adjourned. Thank you all.